Hello, everyone. It is time for the third episode of House of the Dragon. Probably the one with the most to discuss so far, both in terms of like content and like, hey, how much sense does this make? And we have again my friend Shake. What's up, Shake?
Not a lot, but a lot in terms of House of the Dragon. Yeah, I'm hyped because I really like this episode. It's actually my favorite so far. So I'm happy how the show is looking.
I give them all pretty similar, like 9 out of 10. And I think each one in terms of like character work has gotten steadily stronger.
That I agree with.
Pretty strong 9 out of 10 for me. So do you want to go through for those who don't know, this is going to spoil season, like episode 3. Obviously, can't really discuss it in this case without spoiling it, but we will not be spoiling Fire and Blood. Yes. Do you want to go through the episode kind of chronologically, or do you want to start with the part that, like, I feel like everyone wants to know?
Yeah, I thought we can just do the battle stuff first and then do because the battle stuff is like, because we have it at the start and at the end, like, it would be a bit weird to discuss.
Battle stuff. I feel like for questioning battle logic, I'm one of the people on BookTube who does this. So, did it completely make sense? Not quite. No. Did it make as little sense as some people say it did? Also, no. So let's start with the first thing, which is the arrows. And people think about archers wrong because bows are just treated as guns in most movies or films, where it's just like, oh, 100 meters away and the person's wearing armor, he's dead. Which not how bows work. And presumably, I don't know why these guys would have like the best archers ever, and they're hundreds of meters away and they're trying to shoot a moving target who has armor for his center of mass. So yeah, if you think trying to hit this dude who's moving from like, I don't know, 100 to 200 meters in the leg or head is going to be easy, it's really not. Hitting moving targets with a bow is hard. My sister did archery for years, won the BC games. And I have also therefore done some as well. And hitting not moving targets with a modern bow from that distance is hard. Hitting like someone who's running and trying to hit them in the leg is really hard. So that being said, like, yeah, he probably should have got hit more. I wish they would have had like more arrows hit his armor and just like ping off his armor. I feel like it would have made the scene both more realistic and also more tense. Instead of just have everything miss. This is what I think. So this is basically where I'm at. If you simulate that like 100 times, does he probably die in most of them? Yeah. Is it also completely impossible that they missed or didn't kill him there? Also, yes. Over to Shake.
I have not done archery, so I can't dispute anything that you just said. It's interesting, actually, because I did feel like it felt a bit unrealistic, but again, I don't know.
Well, it was, but I feel like the more unrealistic thing is just like, why more people should just be hitting him center mass. Because like usually if you aim for things, you naturally aim center mass. Like it's hard to make yourself like aim for the leg. But
I mean, that's
and just like, have arrows ping off the arm. Like it would have looked cooler anyways.
It would have looked cooler. Like, okay, one question. What do you think is more weird, that he got hit with that fire arrow at the start and just pulled it out and threw it away? Did you notice that?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, presumably it hit like presumably he is something covering like either mail or like boiled leather or some kind of dambason. And I don't know. I got the impression that I think it's fair to conclude that the crab feeders are not known for their archery. They just are like, you have bows, we need to shoot people, here you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like, my issue with it is the whole setup, because they specifically have those archers to avoid exactly the thing that happened, right? Like, they lined up a lot of archers for exactly this reason, so they don't get blindsided by Damon. Whatever, like if they're incompetent, if it's hard to do, like that wasn't my
Like the
main
thing is,
issue
archers
with the
like
battle.
generally like when you're fighting people who are like heavily armored, archers are like a suppressive weapon. Like when people are charging forward in full armor and you shoot archers, and like it isn't like Helm's Deep. You don't mow people down, with some exceptions. Like the exceptions with like English longbows against people who aren't nearly as heavily armored and like they're super clustered. But usually it's like you'll kill a few people, but it's just like it's probably pretty terrifying having archers, and like some people are probably just going to run away because like yeah, it might not kill you, but if an arrow like pings off your head and like splinters everywhere, like that's probably going to disrupt formations, and disrupting formations is kind of a big deal in the Middle Ages. But
Yeah, second issue, he was not wearing a helmet in that thing.
yeah, I
That's-
figure the helmet was just like, it's hard to make him buy that he's surrendering if he shows up in a helmet. But I think he could have just like walked up with his helmet and then like made it look like a symbolic thing, made him like take the helmet off
Yeah,
and put it on the
exactly.
ground and then like start again.
Exactly.
But I'm assuming this conversation happened off screen because obviously they want to have some tension like of what's going on. Is it a trap? And so I'm assuming off screen they were like, hey, no, you can totally wear a helmet. And Damon is probably just like, no, I need them to buy it. I'm not wearing a helmet.
Yeah, I mean,
And there's like,
like,
Damon, you're a madman.
I think it's quite undeniable that they went for like rule of cool stuff at the end, right? Like, again, the archer thing, it's like one issue I have with it. Other thing is this war has been going on for 3 years. It took them 3 years to come up with this plan.
Well,
Like-
no, I think that's the one of the things that I think has a perfectly valid explanation, which is, as you might know, this plan requires someone to be like willing to take a role that is like probably you die 80% of the time, right? Maybe 90% of the time. So you need someone who's going to be insane enough. And Damon was like not insane enough because but then he got the letter that Viserys was going to help. And that was like, no, I am winning this war without Viserys. So I thought the reason, like, it wasn't that they didn't come up with it. It was that until he knew Viserys coming was help, no one was willing to play the role Damon did, which I think fits his character really well. So I think that actually
okay,
made a lot of sense to me.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, like still, like Laenor came up with this plan of baiting them out, like in this episode, right? Like they had this war council at the start where they were discussing this plan.
Yeah, but it kind of felt like it was the type of thing like they've discussed things over and over again, and it felt like a rehearsed answer. It felt like we need to bait them out. Yeah, but you need someone who's gonna be bloody insane, and he's like, Damon will do it, and they were about to be like, we've brought it up with Damon. He's crazy. He's not that crazy. And then Damon comes back, gets a letter. It's like, oh, Viserys is sending men, and Damon's like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. Okay, I will do it.
Okay, but still, like, why 3? Why did it take 3 years? Are these caves actually that good that they can just like go in there?
I will say like, but this is George's fault because he made the War of the Stepstones take 3 years. So
it was longer in the books. It was like 10 years or something in the books.
So I thought like, okay, I'm just accepting my head like, okay, the caves are really deep and they go underground enough that dragon fire like isn't effective and they're really defensible. Which to be fair is precedent. There is precedent for that because Aegon Targaryen said in Fire and Blood, like he said that if the Lannisters had just stayed in Casterly Rock, basically a giant cave, that they wouldn't have been able to do anything. That being said, Casterly Rock is like 600 times better as a cave than this cave is. But
yeah, actually, there was also like there was this one scene at the start where Caraxes is blowing fire into the cave.
Yeah, and it looks
it's just like the fire stops. Like there are 2 people below the fire. Like he just misaimed, like just aimed too high.
Yeah, it's like smog fire in The Hobbit, where like they're behind the pillar. Hollywood all knows fire only goes in straight lines. That's how it works. It's not
actually, this is funny because somebody like was, I think I saw this on Reddit, like before this episode came out, somebody was like, so Caraxes has this like super long neck, so shouldn't his fire be like way more directed? than another dragon. So maybe that's, I don't know if that makes any sense. That's just something.
I don't. But what?
So I don't know what the science behind dragon
All
fire
right,
is.
so
where-
wait, does the fire get created in? I feel like the fire gets created in their mouth, not in their neck. Like it looks like when you look them breathe fire, that there's like not fire directly in their mouth, and then the fire's like getting, or is it coming up from their belly? But
I
also,
don't
like
know,
the force
but, like-
is still going in the same direction, whether it's going in the same direction for this much time or. I don't think that makes sense. Whatever, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I didn't.
I'm not a
calculate
physicist.
that.
Disclaimer: not a physicist.
Not a physicist, not a dragon biologist. So anyway, like this is unnecessary stuff. Did you enjoy the battle? That's the more important part for me. Like,
I did. I would have rathered. So I have been defending aspects of it because I have seen people say like people calling it like season 7 logic, and no, this makes more sense than every single episode of season 7, but it also probably makes less sense than every episode in season 1. So it's in between those.
Yeah. If you
but-
had to, sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah.
first.
So on my scale of battle logic, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
In
What would you
terms of
give it?
cool, like I enjoyed the crap out of the episode. These things do annoy me a little bit, but I still thought it was a
Yeah.
really cool battle. And I thought like from a character perspective, it was really effective. And I really liked the stuff with Daemon, like Daemon being angry by Viserys helping and that motivating him
Mhm.
as a character. I thought was really interesting character work.
Yeah, that I agree with.
And I really
And
like the sea snake being like, you will not like plot insubordination. Like, I don't care if Daemon sucks. Like,
So now you will remember Vaymond. When I mentioned him last time, you're like, who's Vaymond?
Yeah.
That guy is Vaymond.
I don't like Daemon.
But yeah, I mean, I also enjoyed the battle, but like I would give the battle like combined logic and enjoyment like 7 maybe. Like I loved all the sea smoke shots like at the end, like the gray dragon. I loved how those looked. Yeah, but if this was just all battle, like if I just take it, I would be like it's a 7 out of 10. But everything outside of the battle was a 10 out of 10.
Was so good, right?
So I was like, if that battle was like Blackwater level, this would be a 10 out of 10 episode. Like there is so much in this episode that yeah, like I feel like this is how I should have felt about the character work last episode because you were like super hyped about it.
Well, it was
Last week
better
when I
this
was-
episode, I think. Like,
Yeah,
I thought
for
like the character work has taken like a clear step up, like every episode.
Yes, and this is very promising because we don't have this character work in the book. So yeah, what I was saying is like you can first like the character work is good, and also you can actually tell that Ryan Condal really loves A Song of Ice and Fire just based on certain stuff that he is putting into it that he doesn't have to put in. It's just like he's like, I like this stuff from the books. I'm just going to put it in, even though it isn't actually supposed to happen here. But like the whole royal hunt scene, right? Like that's basically the royal hunt scene from the book A Game of Thrones that the Game of Thrones TV show in season 1 couldn't do because of budget. And he's like, well, let's just do it. I'll go into that more when we do the spoiler version of this, because I have like written down everything that George has said about that thing.
Okay.
And like all the symbolism stuff from the book that they actually pulled into here. So I feel like it's very nice what they've done. Yeah.
Can we talk about for the royal hunt scene how like I know they can't prove or didn't tell anyone they saw Whiteheart, but Otto got absolutely pranked because he's like, if anything's a symbol of royalty, it's a Whiteheart. And then they couldn't find a Whiteheart, and Rhaenyra just runs into a Whiteheart.
Yes. I mean, I assume they spotted the Whiteheart at the start, and then they just couldn't find it anymore, and then they were just like, no, let's just get this other one.
I like that they didn't go to fairy princess with the Whiteheart. I'm sure this was a
Yes.
discussion like, should we have the Whiteheart like come up, get head pats? It's like, no, just look at
Yeah.
them and run away. Also,
Yeah,
Whiteheart
I think they
looks
did
cool.
handle it well. It looked really nice. I saw somebody was complaining. I think it was Kyle who was complaining about the CGI with the Whiteheart. I think he was more complaining about the CGI with the boar, which I
Yeah.
agree with. Like the way the boar just tackled Kristen and Kristen just flew away.
That boar was just like, parry this, you filthy casual.
So, and okay, I was saving this for the other video, but I'm just saying it here now. We have canon. Rhaenyra is stronger than Robert Baratheon apparently because she did not get killed by a boar.
Hey, she wasn't drunk.
She was not drunk. But I was laughing at that. I was like, okay, this is funny. Anyway, like, do you have anything else for the battle? Like, one thing I wrote down is all the references to the battle in the King's Landing stuff. Like Tywin, when?
Hello.
Hello. This time she does not look like your shirt.
Yeah,
So
this time I'm not wearing a black shirt, so people will be able to tell that it's a cat.
So what I was going to say is like when the battle was referenced in the scenes with Viserys, I think those were also really well done. Like I think it was Tywin Lannister who mentioned like we're losing in the Stepstones, maybe you want to send help. And Viserys was just like no, and Otto was like, well, they started this war without the Crown's leave, so fuck them, basically.
Which yeah.
But and I really found interesting that it was Alicent that convinced Viserys to send the help at the end. Which, yeah, I like what they're doing with Alicent, actually.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Great character.
I'm somewhat surprised what they're doing, but I also think like it works really well. Yeah, but
okay, we now need to talk about the true highlight of the episode, which is not the battle. It's drunk Viserys. Okay?
Yes. The return of Robert Baratheon.
Yeah, I have two specific Viserys moments I want to talk about that I mentioned in the Discord. And the first is one where Kyle and Jay thought the same thing as me, and it makes me think I'm totally right. You can let me know if you're right when you think I'm right when I rewatch it. And that's when Otto came up and he was like, I have an idea for who Rhaenyra should marry. And Viserys started complaining. And then there was a long pause. I think Otto was absolutely about to suggest himself. I think he was absolutely supposed to be like, well, I'm the hand of the king and we've already joined our houses. Let us make this union stronger. But then he realized that Viserys would have just obliterated him. And he was just like, crap, pivot. And he was just like, Aegon. That makes sense. You guys are fine with incest. Yes.
I have to rewatch, but I did not get that.
Yeah,
from that scene.
I think it was totally a thing. I think he was absolutely about to suggest himself. I thought he was about to suggest himself, and then he paused, and it kind of like the look of his face because Viserys responded really like you can tell Viserys was hostile at the time, like he was not going to be open to that, and I think Otto realized that and was just like, okay.
But I don't get like why would Otto want to do that, like. To what end?
Well, just because right now, like, there's obviously Aegon hasn't been named the heir. If like both parts of the Targaryen family tree are connected with House Hightower, like that avoids the possibility of conflict between House Hightower and the rest of House Targaryen, right? Because like it's now basically one thing.
But for that, like, doesn't automatically the Aegon match make way more sense than him suggesting himself? One, that would be a really weird dynamic because Rhaenyra's father would be married to Alicent, and Alicent's father would be married to Rhaenyra.
Westeros, people are okay with these things.
Like, yeah, the people who are doing the intro would be like, dude, we can't. How do we connect all of this?
Yeah, that's who actually. Yeah, I thought it was because Viserys would be mad. Otto actually just got like into his brain, into his cyborg brain was programmed like there's a TV show about this, and they have an intro with family trees. Okay, like you can't do this. Anyways, next one, and this is just a highlight. I don't know his name because I don't know actors' names. It's the actor who plays Viserys, who is a champion, like goated. And it was when he was drunk and he was sick of people politicking, and what's the first guy's name? Strong, like the advisor.
Lionel.
Yeah, Lionel Strong, who, by the way, he's suspiciously helpful. I'm like, is this guy helpful or is this guy like Book Littlefinger? Because Book Littlefinger like is the most helpful person on the planet. Anyway, very suspicious of him, but he seems to give good advice. And Viserys was like so ready to yell at him for giving obviously like corrupt advice. And then he gave the advice, and Viserys was in his head was like, damn it, that was actually good advice. I wanted to yell at him. And the way the actor sold, like, being annoyed by it being good advice so well when he just wanted to rant about it. And I just want to full props to the actor. It's probably my favorite bit of acting in the first 3 episodes because it was.
I think like, so I had this whole thing in our last discussion about like Millie Alcock stealing the show. Patty Considine was like, hold my beer, basically. He literally every scene he's in, like also the range that he's covering, right? Like from in the first episode, like before Emma dies, he's playing the Viserys more like he's in the book, right? Where he's like this jolly fellow who's just like throwing feasts and tourneys and stuff. And then we see him go down this path where he's actually grieving and like trying to, yeah, he's basically a guy who doesn't know how to play this game, but who has to play it. And yeah, in this episode, I think I love that he's still grieving about Emma, that he still hasn't processed this, because if you remember, that was one of my main issues with like how quickly they moved on from that birth scene in the first episode, where I was like, will they just ignore that this happened and like just move on? No, they are smart. This is actually something that's tormenting him, and he's like actually thinking about it. Also, the scene in front of the fire with him and Alicent, where he's just rambling. That was drunk rambling, right? Like
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So him just actually questioning, like, what do you think was he questioning? That he named Rhaenyra? Do you think that's what he meant there? That he was like, I'm wondering if I made the wrong choice.
Yeah, or maybe like questioning, like, because I think in his head he was like, the reason he hadn't named Aegon heir is because he declared Rhaenyra heir, and like he wasn't changing it, and he's like, should I have just declared Aegon heir? Because I feel like if he was going to declare Aegon the heir, he would have done it at the party, like at the name day. He would have been like, and also not only is he coming to his second name day, I officially name him like the heir to the Seven Kingdoms and like the future titles, as Robert Baratheon said. And now he's just in his head, he's kind of like, because that's a pretty, he's going against, he literally said, even I'm not above tradition and duty. And he's not going against duty here. He's going against tradition, though. Which, by the way, everyone keeps saying it's going against law. You liars. It's going against precedent. That's different. They can name whatever kid they want as the heir.
The law is not clear anyway. Like, even if there was law, like, nobody actually fixed the law.
Yeah, there's precedent, but
we can do a super nerdy like law thing about this whole succession thing if you want, but like that's just going to be annoying probably, because
we're not doing that.
There are some conflicting things where I would be like, I'm very confused about what would actually apply if we do go down the law route, but that's not necessary here. I lost my train of yeah, with Aegon, I also really like how everybody just assumes, okay, like he has a son now. Like we swore these oaths, like I think it's like 3-4 years ago at this point, and like those don't matter anymore. And the most interesting I found was like Hobart Hightower, like Otto's brother, how he was already scheming with Otto, like make sure that Aegon gets named the heir. And
I mean, wasn't Hodor just like, he wasn't even trying to scheme to make him the heir? Hodor was scheming, assuming Aegon was the heir. Hodor was just like, of course Aegon's the heir. He's just
Hobart.
He was just like, he's his firstborn son. Like, it's how this works.
So, but I just like, so it's one thing to like scheme with Otto, right? Like basically tell Otto, like, make sure that this happens, is what he says. But then also later on, he's like, when they get out of the carriage, he says, "Hail, hail, Aegon the Conqueror, babe." Like that.
Aggressive.
And then second of his name, which is the title of the episode, which is a pretty clear like statement, and he makes it in public, and I'm like, Viserys didn't react at all from what I saw. I was like, that's like technically treason, because he's one of the guys that we actually saw swear fealty there.
Oh, yeah, that is technically treason.
So I'm like,
he may have committed some light treason.
Yeah, I was like, publicly, and like, it's not. Also, what the fuck does Conqueror Babe mean? He just he doesn't have any titles. Let's just.
He's named after the dude who conquered things. He therefore is just as good at conquering things.
Yeah.
Oh, Aegon 2. You're. Well, I guess you're not the. No comment. No comment on Aegon 2.
You're not in the spoiler section.
There are other Aegons. and that's all I'm gonna
Okay.
say.
Let's not go into that right now.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. How did you like the interactions between Jason Lannister and Rhaenyra?
I thought they were hilarious. I think Jason Lannister is him trying to hit on Rhaenyra and just like talking about how great his castle is. Like, oh, that was his line that his pride has pride. I thought Jason Lannister was a hilarious character. Where he's just like, that's how he's like, I'm gonna hit on Rhaenyra. Okay, what's my strategy to hit on Rhaenyra? I'm gonna talk about how great Casterly Rock is. It's like, talk about how great the view is. You know, this lady has a dragon. Like,
He did offer to build a new dragon.
he did.
I love that. Love that she was just like, why would you need a dragon?
Yeah, and also because he also is like, he's assuming if he marries her that Aegon would be heir, and that this would just be like strengthening his line, and not like, you know, that he would be like the king consort. Which also Viserys, what a horrible choice for king consort. Like, pick someone who's got like at least 4 brain cells, please. Like, come on. You're trying to make a good match here. Like, can you pick someone semi-useful as king consort? Like, it's not that hard. Yeah.
So you do think that Viserys told him to go?
Well, it seems like he was like thinking of that as a legitimate match. Now, granted, he's probably tried like 17 different matches, and so I guess he might have run through all the good options and is just like, all right, let's see, let's check the list.
I mean, like,
Lannister guy, isn't this guy an idiot? Whatever, he knows Casterly Rock, he's rich.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's a Lannister, so like it's a great house. So, yeah. But do you think, like, so from a casual fan perspective, not that either of us is a casual fan, do you think he gave off the right Lannister energy that maybe people? I was wondering, like, would people be satisfied by the 2 Lannisters we got in this episode?
I think yes.
Okay.
I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a bit confused. Like, I want to see how people react to, like, because Thailand was also like not super, like, he was also like more a stuttery type guy, not super confident. Like, I think we're just used to the larger than life, for lack of a better word.
Just like not every Targaryen is Jaehaerys, and not every Stark is Ned, not every Lannister is Tywin. Like, stupidity is a cross house phenomenon. Okay, it's not like all the Lannisters are smart. All right. I mean, have you met Cersei? Like, I know she thinks she's smart, but like,
yes. Okay, how did you like Rhaenyra in this whole episode?
I mean, all the stuff like around the hunt and the Rhaenyra plot, I thought was brilliant.
Yes,
and that includes Rhaenyra. I love how the show's kind of starting to show that, like, you know, Rhaenyra is not going to be this like the savior who's like always going to be right, where she kind of went down this the self-fulfilling prophecy where she assumed she would be replaced as heir, so then she acted less heir-like and now will make herself the less popular heir, where if she had, instead of like lashing out, just acted like, okay, if I'm not unclear if I'm the heir, I'm going to try and act like in a way that will make people want me to be the heir, then, you know, probably would still not have a lot of support, but would have more support. Because I mean, she hasn't exactly like, even aside from like the woman thing, she's been kind of, seems like she's a teenager, so it's allowed. But, you know, in the teenage rebellious phase, which is not the phase I think people want to see when they're like, should you be the most powerful person in the realm? Yes,
they prefer the infant.
Yes.
Phase.
Well, the infant, he's not a teenage rebel yet, so they can just imagine that at the age of 17, he'll just be like Jaehaerys again.
Yes, he is the conqueror, babe. So
yes. The better. No, so sorry, he won't be Jaehaerys again. He'll be Aegon again. He's not the conciliator, babe. They can name the next kid Jaehaerys, and that dude can be like, it's the conciliator, babe. No, it's the old king, babe.
That sounds weird.
Yes, that's why I said.
referring to Rhaenyra quickly, like I really love the scene where she confronts Viserys about trying to marry her off, and
Oh, yeah.
Viserys has this outburst at her in front of everybody.
Yes, yeah. I
Like,
mean, all the scenes for that I thought were excellent.
yeah, like I just love that scene because like as that was where he said like right, like even I'm not above DPM tradition.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's like the characters are starting to like for episode one, you can be like, okay, these are these characters' roles in the story, and that's kind of their character. For like Viserys is kind of the derpy king.
hmm.
Rhaenyra is like the you know the daughter and stuff. But now they're I think really like starting to be more and more complex and like multifaceted. And like all the scenes for that were like chef's kiss. Like the stuff on the hunt was like obviously it doesn't have the flash that like some of the 10 out of 10 Game of Thrones happens as, but I think that plot line was like as good as it could have been.
Yeah, I actually like, as I said, like I was contemplating giving this a 10 out of 10 until the last 10 minutes happened, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, if the last 10 minutes had been equally cool, but made like was rock solid, I think it makes more sense than some people are giving it credit for. But if it made like perfect sense and was equally cool, I would have considered giving this like, or I would have started bringing out decimals. I would have been like 9.5. I don't know if I can give this the same score as like Reigns of Castamere or Watchers on the Wall or going to another show like Dead Freight or
Yeah,
Ozymandias.
like okay, yeah, that's what I meant, right? Like if the battle would have had that similar kind of impact, and if they managed to make that feel as like if it was like Blackwater, I think in terms of a battle episode is hard. In your case, Watchers on the Wall, like
they're both
those are
so
like neck and neck. So like in terms of a pure battle episode, those are like 10 chance for me. So it's like if you take the battle and that would be similar to those, and then everything in between, like in terms of character stuff, I think it is as close to a 10 out of 10 as you can get.
absolutely. Yeah,
like with this particular story, I don't see what they could have done better. Like I love all the subtle like dynamics that they have. Like again, we have a lot of stuff that they set up for later that I'm kind of impressed how much they like put in here. Also, one thing I loved is like just small stuff. So the Aegon, when they're in the carriage, did you notice his toy?
Oh no, I didn't. I was assuming it was. Okay, I think I saw it was a dragon.
Yeah, it's a small dragon. And I'm like, whatever. Like nobody's going to notice that, but I was looking for a still of basically the baby with Viserys. I was like, wait, what's in his hand? And I was like, just the attention to detail is something where I'm like,
and I also like that with the dialogue, like they're trusting the person watching. Like, let's say I'm right and Otto was like going to be like, hey, I could marry Rhaenyra. They didn't make that avert. They were just like, you know what? Some people, and we can leave this up to interpretation. And they're doing that a lot with dialogue. And they're doing the same thing with like kind of leaving it up in the air with last episode on whether Alicent and Viserys were already sleeping with each other. And they're just kind of like, they're trusting the people watching. They're just trusting people for the battle as well. They're just trusting people to realize that Daemon is changing his activity because he like he wants to achieve victory himself. He doesn't want someone else to give him the victory.
Yes.
Which is like a weird way of thinking, but is a very Daemon way of thinking. And I just really appreciate how much they're trusting the audience in terms of the dialogue. Yeah.
Yes, with that, and also like just with the subtle like looks and stuff, I feel like they're doing a lot of like silent storytelling, I guess, where not everything is like through dialogue or something. You just have like a lot of like Otto, just the way he looks at people just says so much. I think
that actor's like, so good, by the way. That actor's just like, yeah, you have to play a guy with no emotions and you have to like make people understand what he's thinking. And Otto's just like, I can do that.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't have an explicit example from this episode, but last episode, I think I forgot to mention, like when Viserys says he's going to marry Alicent, the look he gives to Corlys is just like this smirky grin, where he's like, haha, I played this game better than you. I was like, come on, like you clearly get what he did and like how he feels without him doing anything. He's just sitting there and just smirking slightly. So I think in that sense, like, or another thing, again, that's from last episode, but like the look that passes between Rhaenyra and Alicent at the end there, Like just their faces tell so much that you don't need any dialogue or anything really to understand what's happening. Like it's clear. So I think they're doing a really good job, and that's something that I think Game of Thrones was kind of at the start very known for, where like they would just do like subtle storytelling, where the go-to scene I always have is the scene with Tywin and Joffrey in the throne room, where just the way like Tywin is moving tells a story where like when he's trying to be like respectful of Joffrey, he's standing like below him. And then as soon as he's like, I'm actually the guy who's in charge, he just
Also, it was
goes
funny
over
because
him and
Tywin was
powers.
totally wrong in that conversation. Tywin was
Well,
just
that's
like, don't
it.
worry about the dragons.
I
It'll
mean,
be fine.
neither of them needed to worry about the dragon. So
Okay, but whatever.
let's not go there. Yeah, so okay, quickly. So one thing I found interesting is now Viserys says that to Rhaenyra, number one, he promised her that she'll be the heir, like he's not going to unname her.
Yep.
And he said that she can choose her own husband.
Yep.
There's a very interesting setup for the next episode.
Also, Rhaenyra, meanwhile, complaining about her role when not only is she the princess and the heir, she's given the position where she can marry whoever she wants. Like, it's her. And I feel like if she, like, her lack of appreciation for that is one of the things causing her problems. If she was just like, oh,
Yes.
I have it better than right now than like 99.99% of people in Westeros.
Yes, and again, that's really good characterization. That Rhaenyra isn't just like she's no Mary Sue or just like
No, I mean,
100% good character, where she's like I think it was with Kristen, right, where she said that, where he's like a lot of people would like to be in your position, and she's like, because they're not in my position.
It's like, no, Rhaenyra, okay, yeah, you also, it's because you haven't been in their position that you think that. Like, let me know when, like, winter being 5 years instead of 3 years means one of your kids dies of starvation. Like, shut up. Like,
okay. And then very last thing, because Zoom is going to kick us. One thing I really found interesting is the Otto Alicent dynamic. It seems like it has switched somewhat. Like Otto is still like firmly influencing her, trying to, but it doesn't feel like she's still
yeah, I mean,
as
she's
much
the
under
queen
his
now,
influence.
right? Like,
She's the queen. Like he has to call her Your Grace, which
Yeah.
I was like, nice. I didn't notice that she was peeling her fingernails or anything this episode.
I think she fidgeted a little bit a couple times, but like way less.
Okay, and also Otto tells her to tell Viserys to name Aegon, right? He's like,
Yeah, and then she just
doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like, how does Alicent actually want Aegon to be named, or is she fine with Rhaenyra still?
I think Alicent still likes Rhaenyra like a lot more than Rhaenyra still likes Alicent. So
yes,
I think Alicent kind of
for sure
feels bad about like her kids supplanting Rhaenyra and like the tension, the conflict between them. So I think she's finding it very difficult to be like, so my son's gonna be king, right? Like, yeah, because first one son. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I also think she just has some kind of feels guilty for
also like when Otto was like, you want your son to be king, and she's like, what mother wouldn't? Not convincing.
Yes. Anyway, we'll talk more about Alicent and Rhaenyra.
Yes, absolutely will, because this is going to wrap up the episode 3 discussion. Let us know, did the battle make sense? I want comments, damn it. Come on, guys. Got like no Shake hasn't even commented on these. It's frankly terrible. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed the discussion. We will be back. This episode ruled. Have a nice day, everyone.